After 7 years at ESPN, Adrian Wojnarowski, or aka Woj, is leaving. According to reports, Woj is retiring and wants to spend more time with his family and focus on other adventures. The 55-year-old NBA insider was famous for his Woj bombs on Twitter, especially during free agency when a player or coach would sign, get traded, or leave for another team during free agency. He was the best and most well-known insider. Before his time at ESPN, he was at Yahoo for 10 years. It was pretty much the same position or very, very similar. It was also reported that the reason Woj is leaving ESPN is because he is taking a job at his alma mater, St. Bonaventure, as the GM, which is a new role at the university. Because NIL, name, image, and likeness, has become part of college sports, they needed a GM to help with that along with recruiting. Head men's basketball coach Mark Schmidt and Wojnarowski will work closely together in recruiting to help the team return to March Madness. He is a 1991 graduate of the university, and in the past, he had even donated over $500,000. On Wednesday morning, he made his final Woj bomb by saying, "This craft transformed my life, but I've decided to retire from ESPN and the news industry. I understand the commitment required in my role, and it's an investment that I'm no longer driven to make. Time isn't an endless supply. I want to spend mine in ways that are more personally meaningful. I leave with overwhelming gratitude for countless mentors and colleagues, subjects and stories, readers and viewers. No one has benefited more than me from the belief, trust, and generosity of others." As I just mentioned, Woj will be taking over as the general manager at St. Bonaventure. He is leaving ESPN despite still having $20 million left on his contract. He was making around $7 million per year and still had about 3 years left on his contract with ESPN. He will now take a job that pays around $140,000 a year. This is one of the biggest surprises in sports media news and maybe even ever. It was a very unprecedented move that sees one of the most prominent voices in sports media stepping away from the constant rush of breaking news to embrace a new role that focuses on the evolving landscape of college athletics, specifically regarding NIL, name, image, and likeness. When it was first reported that Woj was leaving for St. Bonaventure, there were a few universities that offered him a similar job and even better pay. There were even some NBA teams that were interested as well. However, he said no and chose his alma mater, which was his other dream job. For years, Woj had been one of the most recognizable figures in sports journalism, renowned for his Woj bombs, the breaking news tweets that often shook up the NBA landscape. However, his demanding lifestyle, which often required being on call 24/7, led him to reconsider his priorities. By taking on the role of GM at St. Bonaventure, Wojnarowski will have more control over his schedule. Not only will he be able to focus on the strategic elements of building a college basketball program, but he will also have more time for his family and the ability to enjoy holidays, something that was very difficult to achieve during his tenure at ESPN. With Woj now gone, the question turns into who will replace him. According to sources, ESPN is looking at other candidates inside the mothership such as Brian Windhorst, Bobby Marks, Zach Lowe, Tim McMahon, Mark Stein, and Ramonis Shelberg. If they do hire someone inside the company, it will likely be Brian Windhorst. They already have a possible nickname such as Windbreaker or the Windy Report. However, there are now reports that suggest ESPN has also looked outside the company such as Shams Charania and Chris Haynes. Shams is basically the 2.0 or the Ian Rappaport of the NBA. No one else can really rival Shams outside of Wojnarowski. Shams also was under Woj while they were both at Yahoo at one time. He is currently with The Athletic and Stadium and also has a show he co-hosts at FanDuel. He also is set to hit the open market very soon with FanDuel, Athletic, and Stadium. Another twist, Sharonia is also a recurring guest on the Pat McAfee Show, which is on ESPN. And to add even more, he was the first to get the Joel Embiid new contract story on Friday morning. Shams also has a great following on X, which includes over 2 million followers. However, they decided to go in another direction and maybe not go with Shams. They could look at Chris Haynes of Yahoo, who also does sideline reporting at TNT. Haynes is also set to hit the open market next summer, and plus TNT is losing the NBA after this upcoming season. Haynes has been covering the association for quite some time now and rivaled Woj with a lot of breaking NBA news, especially during the bubble. Similar to Shams, Haynes also has a good following on X. Wojnarowski's career began in a traditional print journalism. After graduating from St. Bonaventure University in 1991 with a degree in journalism, he worked at various small newspapers, including The Record in New Jersey. During this period, He recovered a range of sports. He developed his reputation for building trust with players, coaches, and league insiders. Wojnarowski's big break came when he joined Yahoo Sports in 2007. As a columnist covering the NBA, this move put him in the spotlight, where he quickly became a major force in basketball reporting. Woj distinguished himself by consistently providing deep analyst columns that went beyond the box score. He wasn't just covering games, he was uncovering the stories behind the scenes, getting inside information from coaches, agents, and front offices. His signature strength became his ability to break news, especially trade deals, free agent signings, and other major events in the NBA world, and was the first to get the stories. His scoops often came hours or even days before official announcements. This created what would later be known as Woj bombs, especially news drops that sent shockwaves throughout the basketball community. Wojnarowski became synonymous with breaking NBA stories, often beating rival reporters to major stories. The term Woj bomb was coined to describe the moments when he would announce major developments, such as trades, hirings, and signings. These reports often came via Twitter, where his breaking news style evolved into a must-follow for fans. Whether it was a blockbuster trade, a high-profiling firing, or a shocking draft day move, Woj was frequently the first to report it, making him the go-to source for NBA breaking news. His deep connections with agents, players, executives, and league insiders were built over decades. These relationships gave him access to confidential information, allowing him to consistently break news before it became public. In 2017, Woj made another significant career move when he left Yahoo and joined ESPN. This shift was seen as a major coup for ESPN, as Woj brought with him his massive following and extensive source network. As ESPN's lead NBA insider, Woj started to dominate the breaking news landscape, expanding his reach throughout appearances on television, podcast, and digital platforms. In the past, he was also featured on ESPN shows such as SportsCenter, The Jump, and NBA-related specials, further cementing his status as a key figure in sports journalism. Despite Wojnarowski having a stellar reputation as a top-tier NBA reporter, had not been without controversy. While these incidents didn't necessarily derail his career, they sparked discussions about journalism ethics, professionalism, and the pressure associated with high-stakes reporting. Here are some of the key controversies involving Woj. There was one, but I'm not really going to get into it because it has to do with politics, and I really don't want to talk about this on my channel. Here's the second one. In the world of insider, especially in the NBA, the most important thing is to get the story first, even if you don't quite have all the information. When Woj was at ESPN, one of the more notable ongoing stories in sports media was the rivalry between Wojnarowski and Shams. Shams, who broke out as a reporter with The Vertical, a site co-founded by Woj at Yahoo, quickly established himself as a serious competitor. As both Woj and Shams competed to break the same stories first, there was speculation about intense rivalry and even friction between the two. Although this rivalry isn't necessarily a controversy, it had created an atmosphere of tension, and some in the media had suggested that the competitiveness had, at times, led to cutthroat behavior. Both reporters are known to race the breaking major news, and this has reportedly led to a sometimes uncomfortable environment among media professionals. Woj occasionally faced accusations of agenda-driven reporting. Some critics had suggested that his relationship with NBA agents and executives influenced the way he framed stories or prioritized certain narratives. Given his deep network of sources, some believe Wojnarowski occasionally promoted the interest of his connections in the league or agents who fed him information. For example, during high-profile free agency periods, some have accused Woj of pushing stories that seemed to benefit particular agents or terms. While these claims are largely speculative, the notion that a reporter could be swayed by his sources has drawn criticism from those who believe he should remain strictly objective. Wojnarowski had a few public and beyond-the-scenes clashes with other journalists over the years. For example, in 2011, he engaged in a feud with former ESPNer Chris Broussard, who was also an NBA insider at the time. Woj criticized Broussard reporting on the NBA lockout, accusing him of being a company man who echoed NBA talking points. This feud became a public spat, highlighting the competitiveness in NBA reporting. More broadly, Woj had been criticized by some within the industry for his aggressive approach to breaking news. He has been accused of undercutting competitors and working within a cutthroat, scoop-driven environment that led to intense rivalries and occasionally ethically gray areas. After joining ESPN in 2017, there were rumors of eternal power struggles between Woj and other personalities at the network. He reportedly clashed with NBA Countdown host Rach Nicholas and former analyst Paul Pierce, among others. According to some reports, Woj's arrival at ESPN shifted the dynamic of the network's NBA coverage, and his influence became so strong that it created tension with other staff members. One particular area of friction was how Woj's breaking news segments and scoops would be included into live NBA broadcast. There were reports that some on-air talent felt overshadowed by Wojnarowski's stature and the emphasis placed on his reporting. Wojnarowski had been criticized for being quick to block people on Twitter, especially those who challenged his reports or official critical commentary. Given his significant social media presence and the importance of his X account to his brand, some feel that blocking critics reflects poorly on his ability to engage with differing perspectives. While this is not a major controversy, it has drawn attention from fans and fellow media members who believe public figures like Wojnarowski should handle criticism more constructively rather than silencing voices on such visible platforms. Wojnarowski has been involved in controversies surrounding the leaking of NBA draft picks before they are officially announced by the league. In 2018, despite an agreement between ESPN and the NBA that reporters would not leak draft picks before they were made official on air, Woj continued to tweet out the picks using creative language to avoid technically breaking the rules. For instance, instead of saying the team will select player, Woj would tweet something like this: "The team is enamored with this certain player and is expected to draft him," thus continuing to break the news before the official announcement. This practice has drawn criticism from fans who feel it ruins the draft day experience. While none of these controversies have severely damaged Adrian Wojnarowski's career, they illustrate the intense pressure and the scrutiny that comes with being one of the most high-profile reporters in sports. His ability to navigate these situations and maintain his reputation as the NBA's premier newsbreaker speaks to his resilience and standing in the industry. As Woj steps away from the fast-paced world of breaking news into the college ranks as GM, his legacy as one of the most influential figures in sports journalism is firmly cemented. From the iconic Woj bombs that kept fans on edge to his unrivaled network of sources, Woj changed the game in more ways than one. Now, as he shifts focus to college basketball and a well-deserved chapter of rest, we remember the countless moments he delivered, the stories that shaped the NBA landscape, and the work ethic that inspired a generation of journalists. The NBA news cycle won't quite be the same. Here's to a legend signing off. Thank you, Woj, for keeping us on our toes, and may your next chapter at St. Bonaventure be just as impactful.
That's odd. Some sort of pregnant raven. Oh no.
Rose bomb! Oh